What it is actually, business therapy.
It's an opportunity for people, right, in business to talk about their problems.
And let's get to my session then.
I could provide that solution. And really, it's kind of like that prescription of how to solve that problem, like a doctor.
Toxic relationship that drain all my energy completely away.
If you keep giving, people are just going to basically naturally take more.
See, you made me think. It's not a play role or anything, it's real. Hi guys, welcome to my new episode, Friends Through Stories. I've recently noticed, or actually not recently, a couple of years, that I have the same mistake that I run into every year, at least once a year. And the mistake is, or the situation is toxic relationship in business. You know, with employees sometimes, with partners, and many times with the clients also. So when I've realized this mistake, I was thinking, well, there must be a solution, or was it only, mistakes I do? What about other people? And I've asked my friends around, and apparently it was not only me who feels this way, who feels, after the crazy conversations with a partner, business partner, or a client, have no energy, no interest, and no motivation. So I'm the person who likes to find solutions in business and personal life. And I was thinking, who could help me with this problem? And I've remembered I have a great friend from New York City who's been here in the Middle East for the last 15 years. And she is a business advisor and she is a business therapist. She helps business leaders and companies to solve problems, whatever problems they have. And she has her own service, business therapy. So I've decided to use my podcast to meet with her and ask her for advice and to use this opportunity. So please welcome my great friend Rachel, an amazing woman, great woman with an amazing sense of humor who helped hundreds of people, right, in business arena on different kind of issues. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me here. It's so nice to be here. Thank you.
Sorry that I didn't invite you to talk about your story. That's what I usually do on this podcast, but decided to talk about my problems.
Perfect. I love it.
But I promise we're going to do the next episode very soon where we'll definitely talk about your story of Middle East. It's amazing and it's a lot of fun.
Exciting. Okay, well, this is what I do. I love to hear problems and try to figure out how to solve it in the best way. So,
yeah, tell me what it is actually, business therapy. What it is.
So basically, business therapy was created. A client of mine, I was helping consult, and they said, you're like a business therapist. You're just helping me. You're letting us talk. And it's an opportunity for people, right, in business to talk about their problems. And there's no doubt that there are a ton of problems that exist in businesses. And there's really no opportunity or a lack of opportunity of where to get those problems solved. How to actually get them out. So depending on the size of the business will depend on the opportunity that is presented. And sometimes in medium and small businesses, there's nowhere to actually just release this. And I always say the best is to get it out of your head, write it down, and then figure out. It's going to be less stressful once it's out of your head. And when you're speaking about it, sometimes that offers a great opportunity for solutions, because then you're looking at it from a different perspective and you're able to kind of think about it in new ways that you may have not experienced if it was just sitting up in the brain,
or here in your heart.
In the heart, the neck, the shoulders, walking
that's
around
exactly.
Like this.
Is that shown? Can you see? This is so true. This is so true.
Because it's causing stress, right? These problems are all causing stress on so many different levels. And people are affected by this in so many different ways. And it may be physically, it may be emotionally, and it definitely is mentally. So if I could provide a platform for people to get this out of their body. It's all sitting in their nervous system. It's all in the somatic system, so that they can just release it just by communicating and talking about it. It shifts.
Yeah.
We're all energy, so it's just shifting into another level. And if I can objectively see a solution and provide a step-by-step way of solving the problem, is not the best?
I think, and before we go into my problem, I want to ask you, what kind of problems do they have?
Everything you can
imagine.
Everything you can imagine, just like going to, any other kind of therapist where you're going to talk about problems. It may be personal problems. It could be staff problems. A lot of times, I think one of the most important, the highest level of questions come around those relationships with management, right? How to manage people that you may not have had experience, understanding how to manage people, and how to set, really understand the expectations from both parties and come up with a solvable solution, right? So personnel is a big one. Another one that comes into play is just job responsibilities. People are doing things, and a lot of times it's all expectations. I expect them to do this. They're not doing it good enough. And well, do we ever set those expectations? And so it really comes down to HR and how that the foundation was set, right? Or it's even when it comes to client relationships, meeting those expectations. What was set? How is it set? Is it in actual writing? Have you both agreed to these terms and expectation so that these expectations can be met, right? Because a lot of this unhappiness and stress is coming from these expectations that are really self-evoked, right? That have not even, no one's a mind reader.
Yeah.
They're not a mind reader. And it happens on a personal level. And so sometimes these business therapy sessions go into, my relationship with my husband, my relationship with my wife, especially if they're working together, right?
Yeah.
Because then there becomes a whole nother dynamic involved. But really understanding expectations and what the expectations are from each party is a crucial way of solving some of these problems.
And have you experienced something that your person came with one problem, but you ended up doing you're realizing it's completely different?
Yeah. I mean, let's say, for example, I had a client that basically two people in the business were doing exactly the same things. And so their problem was they didn't have enough time, right?
Yeah.
And they always felt like the laundry list of activities of what they needed to do to impact the operations was never ending. So identifying what each party was responsible for. And then it became, okay, I don't even want to do this. Each party didn't even want to engage in some of the responsible parties. So then it became, let's find the right person that will.
Yeah.
So then it became, how do we find the right person? What expectations do you have of those people? What job responsibilities do you need them to do? And really outlining this really clearly so that then all of a sudden I'm like helping them onboard a new staff person, which then becomes, how do I train them? How do I make sure that they meet my expectations? And you could see this move into so many different parts of the business depending on who's managing who.
So it's everything. It's the business problem, it's the relationship problem. It's everything. And you are a business advisor. You're a psychologist then, part of.
All I'm missing is a doctorate degree.
Degree, yeah. You're a salesperson, you're their ambassador, you do everything, right?
Yeah, I'm really helping them to drive revenue at the end of the day.
I think.
And so many people get caught up in operations and get caught up in all this drama that prevents them from doing sales. And it could really leak into their customer acquisition experience and how they're engaging with their customers. And looking at that process, because if they're not driving revenue, and it's an expensive hobby, so really understanding how that impacts their bottom line. And so these problems could really make or break a business depending on how you solve them. And unfortunately there's a big void, because where do you go to solve them? Where are the resources to solve them? And they're not really there. And that's really the opportunity that I found to help those problems be solved. And that's where the business therapy came from, so that I could provide that, that solution. And really, it's kind of like that prescription of how to solve that problem, like a doctor.
I think, and let's get to my session then.
Let's go.
Let's go for it, because I need the prescription, I think. Definitely, I have burnout issue. I don't have enough time. I have fear of missing out. And toxic relationships from time to time. I'm a good relationship builder, but from time to time, toxic relationship that drain all my energy completely away. So let's maybe stay with that problem, and then
we'll go from there.
Yeah, and then I'll try to figure out the rest somehow.
Okay. Cool. So, I mean, I think the best is that you understand what it's causing, right? Because every cause is an effect. And so now you understand you got your burnout, you got your time, and you're having this FOMO going on, right? So now let's talk specific.
Yeah.
What's causing it? Who is it? You don't have to say their name, but like what experience are you having that's driving this? You know, because we are triggered by reactions that, you know, emotional reactions that we have.
So when I'm analyzing it, this is the case. I've been entrepreneur for 19 years, and I have this kind of thing that I need to serve my clients. I have to give them everything. I'm very important. Maybe it's my personality also. I like people to be happy. So now I'm in the consultancy business, where it's intelligence plus the good service, right? That makes the difference. So intelligence is there. I have an amazing team that took me many years to put together. Now I have the service part. And so I try to serve my clients as much as I can, to the point that where I got into now, or several times before also, is that I'm like 24/7 available on the phone, non-stop. And I don't know when to stop it, right? And some people, instead of being careful with that, they just use it, I feel. Mm-hmm. And that's just one of the things that I realize. I can't say no. I cannot stop. I think if I don't answer my phone, it means that, you know, they think that what if I don't care? And then to the point that I'm going on holidays and all I think is about them. Yeah, and I do things with the kids, but really in my head I live with the clients. But if the client appreciated it is one thing, but do they really? That's the question. Or do they use you?
The question is like, does that validate how you're feeling though? Even if they did appreciate, would you feel any different about the experience of being available all the time and prioritizing a client over your children?
Maybe I would have at least said, okay, that's, at least they appreciate it. Right? But now, what is this a toxic relationship? Is this when people say it's toxic relationship? Is that the toxic relationship?
Well, for you, there's no question if you're prioritizing work over your family, for example, and you're saying, they're taking up my mind, the headspace all the time. Yeah. Who is it affecting though? Is it affecting the client?
No, myself.
No, it's only affecting you.
Yeah, my eyes started doing this all the time then.
Maybe you're looking at the phone too much, because like this, I mean, it really comes down to the toxic relationship, defining it by your standards. And if this is just something that you want to change, uncovering like why exactly are you prioritize them? And there's no doubt that I think just looking at it objectively is that you probably feel fulfilled by that relationship, being needed by that relationship, and then that being able to be there and provide the best service for them so that they can give you the kind of love that you require and that you really define, through that client relationship, and sometimes I see a lot of people doing that because, maybe this component of I'm not good enough, but we can find and validate our self-worth through our clients by providing extra. And so going ahead with all of that sometimes is just, to define, oh, well, if I do extra, they're going to love me more. And so I'm going to be invaluable for them. Does that trigger?
It's exactly, it's probably exactly how I feel. And then, it's more like that extra care, that extra thing is the new client I have. I want to have a long-term relationship and then you start feeling like being completely into it fully.
Yeah.
That forgetting other clients because you can't still satisfy
everybody.
Yeah.
You can't.
But but from the customer perspective, customer service perspective, is that a good service?
Well, that becomes what is the expectation of the client? And I think to better understand that. So for example, like from your standpoint, if you're saying, you know what, when I go on holiday, I don't want to prioritize my client. I need to stop. Then it's about setting boundaries. So then it's about understanding what boundaries do you want to set, and let's figure that out. So for example, if hanging out with your family, private time, where is it too much? Where is it not enough? What would you feel comfortable with? You know, is it stopping? Is it setting boundaries from your day to stop? Right. I had one client, and basically her husband was complaining that she's working all the time, because as entrepreneurs, we tend to have no time off. It's 24/7. You're always accessible. And so where does that cutoff start? And it's really up to you to set that. People will respect it if you set those boundaries. But if they're never set, it's very easy for them to overtake and keep taking and taking. You've heard that saying, you start with take an inch, they'll take an arm, you know, because if you keep giving, people are just going to basically naturally take more because you're giving it. The minute you say no,
they know.
Then
that
they
is
stop.
no.
Then they stop. Do they stop working with you?
That's maybe the fear.
Right.
Actually, now by saying it, I think the fear is why would they stop? I mean, we provide an amazing service anyway in terms of the output of our work.
Right.
But I think it's the fear of that highly competitive market. And I don't know if you've noticed in Dubai, there's always someone there, cheaper, cheaper, more flexible, more available behind the corner for the clients.
Yeah.
I think maybe that fear of there is, what if there's a stronger competitor there?
Right. But what happened if that fear is only in your mind?
And my worry is probably that's what it is. Now I'm thinking by listening to you.
Yeah. Thank you for the business therapy.
There's this competitor I created. I'm scared of it.
Yeah. Who is that person? What's the worst thing that happens?
Yeah.
The client leaves?
Yeah.
Is that the worst thing that happens?
Yeah.
And then what's the worst thing that happens?
What's the worst thing? So I lose the contract.
You lose the contract. And then the worst thing that happens after that?
I have more time.
You have more time for your family.
I would need to look for new clients. It's highly paid clients.
So you have to start sourcing again for a new lead or a new customer.
Yeah.
You start negotiation. And what's the worst thing that happens after that?
I lose I don't get it.
Okay. And then after that? So if we keep on taking our mind through this spiral of like, what's the worst thing that happens? We're so scared. And this fear aspect is huge. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's huge. And so, there's great like subconscious space to help, practitioners that help clear out this fear, because fear is there no matter what. Fear is there if we try something new. Fear is there if we're going to lose something. We're based on this fear of what we're going to gain or fear of what we can miss out on. And that's where this FOMO comes from, right? Mm-hmm. Fear of missing out. It's huge. It's a trending topic, right? But if you start going through and just asking yourself, and then what? What's the worst thing that happens? How many times have you pitched for a new client?
Yeah, I mean, forever. I don't even remember how many. Yeah,
so many, right? So you're fully capable of pitching for those new clients. How many times have you negotiated those terms to get a new client?
Yeah, forever.
Forever,
many years. Yeah.
So you're fully capable of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, is the fear going through the process of finding a new client, or the fear?
I know what it is. Is the fear of that I'm not good enough.
Right.
Is the fear that I have, if they pull out, it's us as an agency, we didn't provide.
It's your reputation.
It's my but it's more than reputation. It's not so much, it's reputation, but my own fear that I wasn't that good probably then. I was not capable of providing them what they want.
Yeah.
What if then it's always then probably insecurities. See, you made me think. It's not a play role or anything. It's real.
It's real.
Yeah.
And it's happening every single day with all different businesses and people inside the organization. And unfortunately, when you look at humans, we have this innate behavior to all of a sudden question what we're doing and constantly need this confirmation that what we're doing is good enough, because we have this, this weird undermining kind of space. Maybe it's our ego that basically is like, you're not good enough. And it's very easy for us to validate, I'm not good enough if that client leaves. So I have to do extra so they don't leave, right? Yeah. But imagine a world where you can actually just validate your worth to that client. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Maybe on a monthly basis. I'm validating, are you enjoying my services? Right. I'm validating that you are enjoying the service that I'm providing. Do you finding value in the service you're getting? Do you see the price is competitive for what you're paying for? And just basically getting that feedback from the client so you can say, they're happy. I'm okay.
Right. There's no, actually, now I'm thinking about it, for the consultancy services, ours, I've never experienced some kind of a feedback form, survey, or we've never thought about it.
I think
We do ask for testimonials.
Okay.
And that, even that, we, in most cases, don't feel comfortable. But like a service, survey, or feedback, never.
Wow.
Never.
I think that's a pivotal, maybe, like, wow, epiphany for this conversation, because that may be something that could be the first step in understanding and defining your worth to each one of your clients.
Yeah.
And just finding. And so you see businesses that have started this survey, and I spoke about this recently because I've had 2 calls in 1 week with a company calling. They had obviously someone on a database that have called me and said, I want to know what you thought of my business and my services, right? But the questions that they ask have been empty. And so it's very easy for people to get off the phone if it's a closed question. So it's just basically a yes or no question, right? So it can answer by yes or no. So ideally, like, I would then sit with you and go, okay, let's find out the questions we need to ask.
Right.
So that you understand how to ask the questions that start open-ended with how, why, what, and you could really gather more information. Because even as a testimonial, what question are you asking?
Yeah, just can you write a couple of good words about us? Like what words? Just, how you felt.
Right. Okay. She was great. I loved your service, Okay, but did you value what the service was that I gave you? What impact does my business give to your business?
Absolutely.
How would you refer me to any of your friends?
Yeah.
Just simply asking for a reference, right? And who would you, to see if they loved you. Word of mouth marketing is by far one of the best to actually grow your business. But having these open-ended questions gives them an opportunity to really think about, how did you impact it? Why did they use your service? Would they use your service again?
Yeah.
What was the value they found? What didn't work in your business that they wouldn't use again? And then getting this constant, it's a two-way conversation within the clients, will help not only feel more secure with those relationships, but will help understand even your business model of what to be even servicing, so that you can provide more value for your future clients.
I've never, it's my, it sounds so simple, and I'm thinking why I've never done it for the last. And it's as simple as that. Just ask how they feel instead of trying to guess and then be available and so on, right?
Absolutely.
And I think what you've said, it made me think now, is because I was so concerned about this client. Maybe the person on the other side was too. I don't even know why I was so concerned. That at the same time, I have other projects that were going, and because I've spent most of the time just trying to serve this client, the rest of the project were going smooth also. Everything was on time, everything was perfect, and there was no drama. I didn't think about them as drama. Maybe that's one of the reasons. And I put the boundaries directly there. I'm from this to this date, this and this, and I did. But with this client, I absolutely didn't do that.
Yeah. So.
And it's not the client, it's me.
Absolutely.
It's me.
Yeah. And so I love this saying that says, clients will value you the way you value yourself.
Yeah.
And so when you're burnt out, why? Because they're taking all your time.
Yeah.
And any life coach will talk to you about how much time are you putting in your relationship, your family, your work, and make sure that that's like an equal distribution so that your cup is always full. But there are those moments where your cup is just done and you are burnt out and you need a break. But really, when you get back into the game, it's about setting better boundaries so that nobody takes your time more than you allow them, right? Because
absolutely. I have goosebumps now. You're right. A lot of agency guys, these clients, they're pain of our lives. But actually, it's not. You've made me realize now, it's not. They're people the same as we are, and it's us who cannot control and put boundaries in place.
That's it.
That's it.
It's just boundaries. And so, like, what is your problem right now? I want to write your prescription to set better boundaries with your clients.
How do I start now? So I just talk to myself first, right?
Well, first, what are those boundaries that you need to set, right? Because you need to understand that, And so basically it's about what is acceptable for you and what's not. And maybe it's when you assign that next client, you basically make sure that this is how much time I'm allocating for this client. Any additional time will be chargeable. So then it validates your, okay, someone's paying for my time. Now I'll put in that time. And it's your choice to put that time in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing is for clients that you are servicing to understand, what exactly is acceptable for them. How much time do you need? And, I always like using there's certain apps like Toggle and stuff that are great to magnify the time that you spend so you can have a better grasp of where you're spending your time.
I know. Okay.
Amazing.
How do they? Yeah, I'll check
Toggle,
that.
Toggl.
Right.
It's free. And this is a great way of just putting everything you do into a way so that you could objectively look at it and say, I'm spending too much time here. I'm not spending enough time here, and adjust it accordingly. But you first have to see, where are you spending your time?
Right.
And then from that standpoint, you could say, okay, if I'm spending it per client, and you can identify which client you're spending it on, you can say, okay, I've maxed out the time for that client based on what they're paying me. And you set that boundary that way. Right?
And then, you can always give extra as a
added value. But it's for you to understand, say, okay, I put in 40 hours of time this month for this client, and I put in 3 hours extra, and you let them know. I gave you an additional added value of 3 hours of my time. I didn't charge you for it. So then they realize, because if you're just giving, and they have no way of understanding that value,
You're right. The thing is an expectation. It's an expectation.
You're
then,
setting
right?
it with them.
Yeah.
So then the next time they buy
absolutely.
from you, you gave me an endless opportunity to talk to you.
Yeah, and then what now? Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot to think about. And the interesting thing, guys, is that it wasn't set up at all. It's a true it wasn't a play. It's a true business therapy. The note is, I love all my clients still.
We love you, no matter how much time you take.
How could we live without you? No, honestly, that's what I tell my team. We all love you. It's just sometimes it's like with our husbands and kids, right? Sometimes it's a bit difficult, but it all comes from us. It's up to us to fix it and do it right. What's right for us.
And I think no matter what, data is like the new oil. So now we're able to have data for whatever we're doing in our life. And so if you're able to use some of these, operations and like productivity tools so that you can see what's happening in your life, and you can have visibility of the tangible results of what's happening, so that well, this is what's making me feel like this. Because if I ask you, how much time are you spending on this client, I
don't even know it.
Right, you don't even know.
I don't even know. I feel like I leave with that client. I think we're together all the time. So that's crazy.
So step one is first understand what you're doing, right? Use that data and understand it. What's causing this pain? Why is these feelings and emotions are triggered because of what? How much time? So using a tool like this is great. First step suggestion, so that then you have to just calculate this information, and it's really easy. They're on your phone. You could do it at any time. You could always do it at the end of the day and say, okay, estimate. So then after time, you could look at it and say, wow, look at what I'm doing. And now we're talking about specifics. Then from there, you're going to step 2, gather that information and set how this is going to work better for you. So if it's taking up a lot of time, how are you going to decrease that time next month? And you're going to work on specifically setting that expectation so that you are able to manage your time better, because it's a time management issue. There's no question. Like, this is where the problem lies. Setting the boundaries is what the challenge has been. Now I'm giving you a solution of how to solve the problem, understanding your time, how to see your time allocation, and then set better boundaries so that it doesn't continue to happen.
Oh, you are a doctor. You are a business doctor. Thank you so much. Honestly, I'm so happy. I can't start calculating the time now, because I realized by putting the boundaries, I'm still gonna be a good person.
Absolutely, you're an amazing person.
Yeah,
you're amazing, and your clients love you. And if you need to do a step 3, well, put together a survey to find out how much they love you.
Yeah, that's. I think. Yeah, I definitely gonna try it with the towards the end of the project. I want to try it with one of the, the first project that we're going to close to completion. Let's try and do that.
Absolutely. So our next session is going to talk about what questions we want to uncover from the client and be able to
and
understand.
then what to do with them.
Yes.
And how not to cry if they don't like you.
Yeah, well, they won't come back, but breaking up is hard to do. So if a client disappears, it's too late.
it's too late.
They weren't happy and they disappeared on you and they ghosted you. It happens all the time, you know.
No, thank God, never happened in my life.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, I hope after this show.
No, the reality is you're going to make the steps to make sure it never happens, you know? And if they do have any problem, you'll highlight it early on so that you could say, okay, let's change it. Let's change it so that you're happy, because that client retention is so important. But you can't read their mind. They can't read your mind, but they're paying for your service. So they expect that you're going to deliver, you know?
Yeah. Thank you so much. And guys, please, if you like this show, put some hearts, likes, comments, and would like to know also what problems you're facing. And maybe we could ask our Rachel, our business doctor, next time, how could she help us?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was beautiful. Beautiful.
See, unexpected, and you really solved it.
Yeah, awesome. You gotta get that app immediately, the toggle. It's great. We'll give you shed so much light into what you're currently doing and help.
I really need to reflect and think about this whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want I don't want my kids to suffer that they don't see mom, or when they see her, she's like this.
Because there's a ripple effect.
It is.
You know, you're pissed at your husband, get away, you know, because you're and your husband, the kids, you know, like, again, you're like,
and then you think you're doing it because you want to be a good person, and it's like,
it's too much. It's too much. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very long legs.
Sorry. I keep kicking you.